Hello world, my name is Raxter. Welcome to the Game Dev Vlog. Today I wanted to talk about killing your babies. Not actually killing your babies. It's a saying that goes around the game development community a lot, and I'm sure other creative communities as well. And essentially what it's saying is, don't be afraid to throw away your beloved ideas when you find them out to not be that good. It makes sense when you think about it, maybe not when you first come across this saying. It often comes up when there's somebody new to making games, have their beloved idea that they've been working on and treasuring, and just through lack of experience, you don't realize that it's maybe not that fun, and because you're so over-invested in it, you don't realize the flaws in it. I'm not saying that everyone's first idea is not going to be good, but if you haven't had much experience making games, chances are that you won't see those things that aren't so good about it. So it's something to be careful of, and the thing I want to speak about today is actually how difficult that is to do, because I went through this as well. I thought my games were amazing. I thought they were great, and they really weren't. They really weren't very fun. The sort of additional point I want to talk about is that there was an idea there. There was a kernel of something that was really good and unique that I was excited about, but it was so clouded by all, the difficulties of actually implementing such a thing, the excitement of doing it all, that you kind of miss what's actually good about your game, and you end up creating something that isn't too fun. But that's enough that I'm going to say about why you should kill your babies. I'm going to go about explaining how you should go about doing this and how you should think about it, because I'm going to admit it's not an easy thing to do. So I'm going to just have some guidelines on this. First thing, be honest with yourself, be honest with your intentions, and keep perspective on what you're doing. Now, it sounds like three things, but I'm going to tie them together. If you're creating a personal project, then knock yourself out. Go ahead, screw up, learn things. That's all good. If you're creating a project that you think is going to make money one day, that's a whole other kettle of fish. And generally, what you want to be doing there is getting lots of feedback. You want to be talking to lots of people, showing it unabashedly, taking all the criticism, fixing what those people think are wrong about your game, doing that back and forth thing. And it's a lot of work. But if you want to make money, you want to make a game that's fun, and you're not making it for yourself per se, but if you're making it to sell to other people, you're going to want those other people to want to buy it. So you're going to have to make it appealing to them, which means you have to give it to them and test it with them. What happens often is that somebody will come up with a personal project, and this happened to me as well. Come up with a personal project, you're just like, it's just for me. I'm just gonna do my thing, and I like this thing, I'm gonna try it out. And then you work on that, and you really enjoy working on it. But then what happens is that down the line, you think, hey, maybe I could sell this for money. But you never make that distinction clearly. It's like a process, and then you find a few months down the line that you're thinking this game can maybe be released for money, but it hasn't been through the scrutiny of a game that's supposed to make money, which is a whole, like I said, a whole other kettle of fish. That's what I mean by perspective, is that at every stage, reevaluate what it is, the thing that you are doing. Am I doing the right thing still? Am I doing a personal project, or am I doing a project that's supposed to make money? If you're doing a project that's supposed to make money, maybe you need to reevaluate the way in which you're doing it. And obviously being honest with yourself is a big part of that. And it's not an easy thing to do. I'm going to say be honest with yourself, but it's difficult, especially when it's a project that's so close to your heart. Very easy to lie to yourself. Second thing is, remember that failure is good. Fail fast, fail early. Admitting to failure is good, but again, it's very difficult. No one likes admitting to failure. And even those that do admit to failure, it's still not great to do. It's something that you learn to accept rather than you embrace. Though I do encourage people to try and embrace it as much as possible. Maybe I'm tricking myself. Maybe people do embrace failure. I wouldn't call it an embrace, but it's more like a failure that you learn from is a success. So learn to feel that feeling of success from your failures. If something doesn't work out, try learn from it. Try figure out and get right to the bottom of why it didn't work out. Again, not an easy thing to do in practice, because this is a vague general term, and when it comes down to specifics, it's quite tricky sometimes to figure out what went wrong. But do spend at least a bit of energy trying to figure out what's wrong. Obviously, if you, for instance, are being paid to do something, you want to not fail and go, hey, it was fine, I learned, because whoever's paying you might not like that. However, I'd like to think that, if you take on a job, that you would be fairly confident you can do it when you said you can do it, rather than, you saying you can do it, being out of your depth and failing down the line. Another piece of information is that, failures and mistakes do happen. It's not always that things have gone wrong. It's how you deal with those things once they've got wrong. Third point kind of ties into the last point. Learn and reflect on the stuff that you do. Like I said, it's not easy to do this in practice. It's easy to say. So I'm going to just do like an example. So for instance, you have a first-person shooter game, and I don't know if anyone's played one, but I know you've probably played a first-person shooter. Say for instance, a bad first-person shooter, and you just kind of go like, this game just doesn't feel right. Like, it's just bad, and it's not working. And that's a legitimate sort of criticism of it, but it's not helpful. There's no real substance to what you're saying there. As a result, as somebody who's making that game, there's no way for them to fix it. They're just like, it's bad, but how is it bad? What exactly is it that you don't like about it? And so figuring that out is a whole process. As a first step, what I generally try to do is come up with vague terms, like, anything that's expressive, that doesn't use the word good or bad or other very vague words like that, but still using some vagueness just to get the idea across, get something out there. So for instance, the controls just felt sloppy and the guns felt weak, so those are sort of common criticisms that you could attribute to a first-person shooter. But then once you have that, work with that then to kind of really bring it down to the mechanics of the game. So, the controls are sloppy could be something that, if you're holding down left and then press right, it takes just that millisecond to go from going like left and then, I'm trying again, so going left and then right, and then there's a little bit of a delay, and that makes this sort of sloshy feeling. Figuring out exactly what it is difficult, and that's when you have to go and look at other games, look at games where people say the controls are really tight, and try see the difference between games where they say it's really tight and it's really sloppy, and get videos, play games, try it out, really get to the bottom of what exactly from a mechanical level is doing it wrong. Guns feeling weak is a common one. If you want the gun to feel heavy, you better be sure that thing's going to fire a heavy payload that will kind of kick you back, and when it hits the enemy, it'll knock them back flying. And that you have a bit of screen shake and recoil and things like that. And it's not easy to do. I mean, this is something I've thought about before, so it sounds like I'm coming off the top of my head, but it's stuff that I've gone through a process of looking at other games and so on and so forth. And it's not even complete. It's not well researched stuff, but it's just little bits and pieces that you can get the hang of. That's just an example. It obviously depends on your game. I mean, you might not even have a first-person shooter game. The point I'm trying to make is to really reflect on it. If you look at a problem and you go, I can't figure this out, break it down and really turn your failures into successes. Even the best designers and developers have piles of terrible, terrible games hiding in their back closet that they wouldn't show anyone, but they look back on and go, you know what, I did that in a terrible way, but you look at it with pride because you're like, I've come around from there, I've built myself up from there, and I learned from those failures, and that's why I make good games today. Thanks for watching. I hope it was a bit enlightening. I hope I didn't ramble too much. If there's anything you disagree with, please leave a comment, and I will reply to them as much as I can. Again, this is just my opinion and perspective on things. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. These are just things that have helped me through the years. So stay cool, everyone. We'll see you in the next video. Cheerio.